Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and instantly command attention while others get overlooked, ignored, or dismissed? It's not always the loudest voice or the smartest mind or even the one with the fanciest title. No, it's something else. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes you're not respected because you're too busy trying to be liked. You smile too much. You agree too quickly. You're so focused on being friendly that you've made yourself forgettable. And let me tell you something, being liked is easy. Dogs are liked. Candy is liked. But being respected, that's rare. That's powerful. That's the difference between someone people tolerate and someone people follow. So today, I'm going to challenge you to stop being too friendly, to stop giving away your energy like it's cheap, to stop confusing kindness with weakness. Because if you keep living your life to please everyone else, don't be surprised when they start owning you. There's a big misconception that destroys more careers, more relationships, and more opportunities than people realize. It's the belief that if you're friendly enough, if you're nice enough, if you're always agreeable, people will naturally respect you. That if you keep smiling, if you keep saying yes, if you keep being approachable, everyone will admire you and want you around. But here's the truth. Friendliness doesn't equal respect. They're two very different currencies. And while friendliness may buy you temporary approval, only respect buys you lasting influence. Friendliness is easy. Anyone can be friendly. You can put on a smile even when you don't feel like it. You can nod along, agree with what others say, even when deep down you disagree. You can water yourself down to avoid offending anyone. But here's the problem. When friendliness becomes your default mode, when it becomes your entire identity, people stop seeing you as a strong individual. They see you as a comfort zone, a safety net, someone they can lean on but never look up to. And the people who only see you as friendly rarely, if ever, take you seriously. Respect, on the other hand, is earned through consistency, boundaries, and courage. Respect comes when you don't just say what others want to hear, but what needs to be said. Respect comes when you're not afraid to disagree, when you're willing to stand alone, when you refuse to shrink just to keep the peace. It's not that you have to be cold or harsh, but you do have to be firm. You do have to be clear. You do have to show people that your presence has weight, that your words carry authority, that your time and attention are not cheap. Think about the last time you met someone who was overly friendly, someone who was trying too hard to win you over. Maybe they laughed at everything you said, even when it wasn't funny. Maybe they agreed with every point you made, even when it was obvious they didn't have their own opinion. How did you feel about them? Did you see them as strong? Did you trust them to lead, to make tough decisions, to stand up when things got hard? Probably not. You might have liked them in the moment. You might have thought they were nice. But respect? That wasn't there. Because deep down you knew they weren't showing you their real self. They were showing you a version of themselves designed to be liked. Now compare that to someone who didn't care whether you liked them or not. Someone who spoke directly, clearly, without sugarcoating. Someone who wasn't afraid to tell you the truth, even if it made you uncomfortable. You might not have liked everything they said, but you remembered them. You respected them. Because they weren't trying to earn your approval. They were grounded in their own standards. They weren't performing friendliness. They were living authenticity. That's the difference. Friendliness focuses on comfort. Respect focuses on strength. And here's the problem with living your life chasing friendliness. Comfort is forgettable. No one remembers the person who made everything easy, who always blended in, who never challenged the room. But everyone remembers the person who stood tall, who carried themselves with strength, who made them sit up and pay attention. Respect makes an impact. Friendliness fades. Now don't misunderstand this. I'm not saying you should go out into the world and be rude. I'm not saying you need to be cold, hostile, or arrogant. What I am saying is this. Stop using friendliness as a shield. Stop using it as a way to avoid confrontation, to avoid being disliked, to avoid standing out. Because when you lean too much on being friendly, what you're really saying is, I'm afraid of being disliked, and that fear keeps you small. That fear keeps you quiet. That fear keeps you from showing the world who you really are. Respect. In contrast, requires bravery. It requires the courage to risk being disliked, the courage to set boundaries, the courage to say no, the courage to stand firm when others push back. And here's the beautiful thing about respect. It doesn't require universal approval. You don't need everyone to like you to be respected. In fact, the moment you stop trying to please everyone is usually the moment people start taking you seriously. Look around you in your workplace, in your community, even in your personal life. The people who are respected are not the ones who are constantly trying to win favor. They're the ones who are firm in their decisions, who don't bend every time someone challenges them. They are kind, yes, but they're not afraid to draw lines. They are approachable, yes, but they're not available to everyone at all times. Their time has value. Their presence has weight. And because of that, people respect them. Friendliness without boundaries is weakness. Respect without authenticity is arrogance. The balance is in knowing when to be kind and when to be firm. And here's the key. When you earn respect first, your friendliness carries more weight. A smile from someone respected means more than a smile from someone who's just trying to be liked. A kind gesture from someone respected carries more impact than a kind gesture from someone who's desperate for approval. Respect amplifies kindness. Without respect, kindness is just noise. So ask yourself, what do you really want? Do you want to be the person everyone likes? The one they call when they need a favor? The one they laugh with but never take seriously? Or do you want to be the person they look at and say, that's someone I can count on. That's someone I can trust. That's someone I respect? Because at the end of the day, you can't be both. You can be liked or you can be respected. And the people who change the world, the people who lead, the people who are remembered, are never just liked. They are respected. So stop confusing friendliness with influence. Stop watering yourself down to fit in. Stop chasing approval and start building respect. Because in the end, respect is what lasts. Respect is what matters. Respect is what sets you apart in a world full of people who just want to be liked. The first problem with people-pleasing is that it teaches people how to treat you. When you constantly say yes to things you don't want to do, when you agree with opinions you don't believe in, when you stay quiet just to avoid rocking the boat, you're sending a message. The second problem is that people-pleasing doesn't actually earn the outcome you think it will. You believe that if you're nice enough, if you're agreeable enough, people will like you. And maybe they will. But liking you and respecting you are not the same. People may like how easy you are to manipulate. They may like that you make their lives easier by putting your own aside. But deep down, they don't respect you for it. Because they know you're not being authentic. They know you're bending. They know you're choosing comfort over courage. Respect comes from strength, not submission. And if all you ever do is submit, you will never be respected. The third problem is internal. It's what people-pleasing does to you on the inside. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you chip away at yourself. Every time you silence your truth to avoid upsetting someone, you betray yourself. And the more you do it, the more you lose touch with who you really are. One day you wake up and you don't even know what you believe anymore, because you've spent so long shaping yourself into what everyone else wants you to be. That is the cost of people-pleasing. You disappear. You become invisible even to yourself. And here's the cruel irony. The more you try to please people, the more they take you for granted. The more you give, the less they value it. Why? Because in human psychology, scarcity creates value. When something is rare, it's respected. When it's everywhere, it's overlooked. If your time, your attention, your energy are always available to everyone, they stop being valuable. You've trained people to think they can have unlimited access to you. But when you start saying no, when you start protecting your time, when you start making your energy scarce, suddenly people pay attention. Suddenly they value what you give. Suddenly they respect you. That's the irony. The way to truly earn appreciation is to stop giving yourself away so freely. The fourth problem with people-pleasing is that it's manipulative. Even if you don't realize it, think about it. When you say yes to something you don't want to do, when you pretend to agree with someone you actually disagree with. When you put on a smile to hide your frustration, what are you really doing? You're managing their perception of you. You're trying to control how they feel about you by shaping yourself into what you think they want. That's not honesty. That's performance. And here's the truth. Relationships built on performance always collapse. Because at some point, the real you shows up, and when it does, people feel deceived. They realize you aren't being authentic, and the trust is gone. You see, people-pleasing is built on a lie. The lie that you can control how others feel about you. But you can't. You could be the kindest, friendliest, most generous person in the world, and there will still be people who don't like you. That's life. So if you can't control whether people like you, why keep sacrificing yourself to try? Why not focus instead on being respected? Why not focus on building a life where your yes means something, because your no has power? Breaking out of people-pleasing doesn't mean becoming harsh or cold. It means being real. It means speaking the truth even when your voice shakes. It means saying no without guilt, and yes without resentment. It means showing up as your authentic self, not the watered-down version designed to keep everyone else comfortable. It means valuing your own needs and opinions as much as you value everyone else's. And here's the final truth. The people who truly matter, the ones who deserve to be in your life, will respect you more for it. They'll respect your honesty, your boundaries, your courage. They won't leave because you stopped pleasing them. They'll stay because they finally get to see the real you. And the people who can't handle that, let them go. They were never there for you anyway. They were there for what you gave them. So stop living in the trap. Stop bending yourself into shapes that don't fit. Stop giving your power away just to be liked. Start standing up. Start saying no. Start speaking your truth. Because in the end, being liked is temporary. But being respected, being authentic, being true to yourself, that lasts forever. Boundaries are not walls. They are not barriers designed to keep everyone out. Boundaries are filters. They are the lines you draw to protect your time, your energy, your values, and your identity. They determine what you will accept and what you will not. And here's the truth. Without boundaries, you have no power. Without boundaries, you are constantly at the mercy of other people's needs, opinions, and demands. But with boundaries, you reclaim control. With boundaries, you set the terms of your own life. Boundaries are not weakness, they are strength. Boundaries are not selfishness, they are self-respect. The problem is, most people are terrified of setting boundaries. Why? Because they're afraid of how others will react. They don't want to be seen as difficult, or rude, or unkind. They've been conditioned to believe that saying no is negative, that it makes them a bad person. But the opposite is true. Saying no is one of the most powerful things you can do. When you say no, you're not rejecting the person. You're protecting yourself. You're standing up for what matters to you. And anyone who cannot respect your no is someone who never respected you in the first place. Think about it this way. Your time is your most valuable resource. You cannot buy more of it. You cannot trade for it. Every yes you give is a piece of your life. You will never get back. So when you say yes to something you don't believe in, when you say yes to something you don't want, you are giving away the most valuable thing you own. Your life energy. And for what? To avoid a moment of discomfort. To keep someone else happy for a short while. That is the trade-off of living without boundaries. You sacrifice your future for someone else's temporary convenience. People without boundaries often confuse being busy with being valuable. They run themselves ragged, saying yes to everything, doing everything, helping everyone, and at the end of the day, they're exhausted, resentful, and invisible. They think people will appreciate their sacrifice. But here's the harsh reality. People don't value what you give endlessly. They value what you protect. They value what you make scarce. The more you give without boundaries, the less people respect it. But the moment you set limits, the moment you say, "This is my line and I won't cross it," suddenly what you do offer becomes meaningful. Boundaries also reveal who's really in your corner. When you start saying no, some people will push back. They'll call you selfish, they'll guilt trip you, they'll try to manipulate you. That's because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. You made their lives easier by making your life harder. But once you step into your power, you'll see the truth. The people who stay, the people who respect your boundaries, those are the people who deserve your time. The rest, let them go. Because anyone who only values you when you have no boundaries doesn't actually value you. They value what you give them. Let me make something clear. Boundaries don't mean you stop being kind. Boundaries don't mean you stop being generous. Boundaries don't mean you isolate yourself. Boundaries simply mean you choose when, where, and how to give. They mean your kindness has direction. They mean your generosity has intention. They mean your energy has purpose. Without boundaries, your kindness is wasted. With boundaries, your kindness becomes powerful. And here's another truth: boundaries command respect before you even open your mouth. People can sense it. They can feel it in how you carry yourself, how you walk into a room, how you respond to pressure. Boundaries give you presence. Boundaries make people think twice before they cross you. Boundaries send a message that your time, your energy, your values are not negotiable. And when people sense that, they adjust. They treat you differently, not because you demanded it, not because you begged for it, but because you showed them with your actions where the line is. But boundaries also shape how you see yourself. Every time you enforce a boundary, you tell yourself, I matter. My time matters. My energy matters. And that changes how you carry yourself in the world. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop feeling guilty for prioritizing yourself. You stop settling for less than you deserve. And the more you live that way, the more your confidence grows. The more your presence grows. The more your influence grows. Boundaries are not just about keeping others in check. They're about keeping yourself aligned with your own worth. So how do you start? You start by noticing where you feel drained, resentful, or taken for granted. Those are the areas where boundaries are missing. You start small. You say no to the little things. You stop explaining yourself endlessly. You stop apologizing for every decision you make. You stop overcommitting out of guilt. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. People will push back. You'll feel guilty, but the discomfort is temporary. The freedom is permanent. But here's the ultimate truth. People who respect themselves have boundaries. People who lack boundaries don't respect themselves, and the world mirrors that back to them. If you want others to respect you, start by respecting yourself. And respecting yourself means having the courage to say no, the courage to hold the line, the courage to stand tall even when others want you to shrink. Boundaries are power. Boundaries are freedom. Boundaries are the foundation of self-respect. Without them, you will always live on someone else's terms. With them, you reclaim your life, your time, your energy, your voice. So stop apologizing for having standards. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop giving yourself away like your value is unlimited. Draw the line, hold it, and watch how everything in your life changes once people realize you are no longer for sale. Too many people ruin their careers, sabotage their influence, and waste their potential because they confuse professionalism with popularity. They think that if everyone likes them, if they're always agreeable, if they never step on toes, that somehow they'll rise to the top. But here's the reality. Being popular doesn't make you powerful. Being liked doesn't make you a leader. You don't get promoted, respected, or followed because you were everybody's buddy. You get there because you delivered results, because you set standards, because you carried yourself with discipline and authority. Popularity is shallow. Professionalism is substance. Think about the difference. Popularity is based on how people feel about you in the moment. It shifts with moods, with convenience, with gossip, with perception. It's fragile. One mistake, one decision that someone doesn't like, and the same people who once cheered for you will turn against you. Professionalism, on the other hand, is steady. It's built on consistency, integrity, and results. People may not always like a professional in the moment, but they will respect them in the long run. Respect outlasts popularity every single time. Look around in any workplace, in any organization. The ones who climb are not the ones who spent all their time trying to be liked. They're the ones who had the courage to make tough calls. They're the ones who are willing to say what others didn't want to hear. They're the ones who put the mission above their ego, the work above their image. And that is why they earned respect, even if not everyone liked them. If you chase popularity, you'll always be at the mercy of other people's opinions. But if you commit to professionalism, you control the game. Here's the trap of chasing popularity. You end up diluting yourself. You bend to what others want. You hesitate to speak the truth because you don't want to offend. You avoid making hard decisions because you don't want backlash. And little by little, you lose your authority. You lose credibility because deep down, people know you're not operating from strength. You're operating from fear. They may smile at you. They may laugh with you, but they won't trust you. And if they don't trust you, you'll never be seen as a leader. Professionalism demands that you put respect before approval. It demands that you deliver results whether people like you or not. It demands that you hold yourself to a standard even when no one is watching. And here's the thing, when you do that, when you consistently show up with discipline and focus, even the people who don't like you can't deny your value. They may not want to invite you to their parties, they may not want to be your best friend, but when it comes to respect, they have no choice. Because professionalism speaks louder than popularity ever could. Let's be real, leaders are not always liked. In fact, the best leaders are often criticized, doubted, and resisted. Why? Because leadership requires decisions that don't make everyone happy. It requires accountability. It requires setting boundaries. It requires saying no. And most people don't like hearing no. But leadership isn't about making people feel good all the time. It's about making sure the mission gets done, that the standard is maintained, that the vision moves forward. If you're too worried about being popular, you'll sacrifice the mission for the sake of approval. And when you do that, you lose both respect and results. Professionalism also protects your reputation. Popularity is about being liked today. Professionalism is about being respected tomorrow. Think about the people who mattered in your own life. The teachers, the mentors, the bosses, the leaders you looked up to. Did you respect them because they were always nice? Did you admire them because they never challenged you? No. You respected them because they pushed you, because they held you accountable, because they modeled consistency, because they lived by standards. Their professionalism left a lasting impression that far outlived whether or not you liked them in every moment. This is why professionalism is freedom. When you're professional, you don't have to play games. You don't have to perform for approval. You don't have to constantly monitor how people feel about you. You can stand firm in your truth, in your standards, in your discipline, and let the results speak for themselves. But when you chase popularity, you live in chains. You are constantly adjusting, constantly second-guessing, constantly bending. And in the end, the same people you're trying to please still won't respect you. Because deep down, they know you're not standing on solid ground. And here's the kicker. True respect often turns into genuine admiration over time. People may not like you when you hold them accountable. They may not like you when you challenge them. They may not like you when you make a decision they disagree with. But later, when they see the results, when they see your consistency, when they realize you stood firm even under pressure, they will admire you. They'll respect you for being the one person who didn't bend. They'll remember you not as the one who tried to be liked, but as the one who stood tall. So you have to decide, do you want to be liked? Or do you want to be respected? Do you want shallow approval? Or do you want lasting credibility? Do you want to be the person everyone laughs with today, but forgets tomorrow? Or do you want to be the person they remember, the one whose presence carried weight, the one whose professionalism spoke louder than words? Stop confusing friendship with leadership. Stop chasing approval. Stop watering yourself down so you'll be invited in. Start standing firm. Start prioritizing results. Start being the person who commands respect, not the one who chases popularity. Because in the end, popularity dies with the moment. Professionalism builds a legacy. Presence is power, but not the kind of presence that comes from being loud, or from trying too hard, or from demanding attention with empty noise. Real presence is controlled. It's measured. It's intentional. It's the ability to walk into a room and change the energy without saying a word. It's the weight you carry when you know who you are, when you know what you stand for, and when you don't waste yourself trying to prove it. Controlled presence is the quiet confidence that commands respect without begging for approval. The mistake most people make is thinking presence means being overly available, overly expressive, overly friendly. They think the way to be noticed is to spread themselves thin, to smile at everyone, to constantly perform for attention. But here's the truth. When your energy is everywhere, it loses value. If you're always on, always smiling, always trying to connect, people stop paying attention. You become background noise. You become predictable. You become forgettable. Real presence comes not from doing more, but from doing less. Less talking, less pleasing, less performing, and replacing it with intention. Think about the people who draw your attention the most. They're not always the loudest, not always the ones constantly trying to charm everyone. More often, they're the ones who are calm, steady, and deliberate. They speak with clarity. They don't rush. They don't fidget. They don't try to fill the silence. They let the silence work for them. Their energy is grounded. They don't chase attention. They attract it. That is controlled presence. Controlled presence also means being unpredictable in the right way. When you're always too friendly, people know what to expect from you. They know you'll smile. They know you'll say yes. They know you'll never challenge them. And because of that, they stop valuing your interactions. But when you're intentional, when you smile only when you mean it, when you nod only when you agree, when you give praise only when it's earned, people start paying attention. They lean in because they don't know what's automatic with you and what's meaningful. Every action becomes significant. Every gesture carries weight. Presence isn't about being everywhere. It's about being felt when you're there. You don't need to dominate a conversation to own it. You don't need to be the loudest voice to be the strongest. In fact, the person who controls themselves best often controls the room, because self-control is rare. Everyone else is scattered, reactive, desperate for validation. The one who remains composed, deliberate, intentional, that's the one people notice. That's the one people remember. Controlled presence also requires discipline. It's not something you fake, it's something you build. It comes from knowing when to stay silent, when to speak, when to engage, and when to step back. It comes from practicing restraint. It comes from resisting the urge to explain yourself endlessly, to over-apologize, to overcompensate. Presence grows when you stop bleeding energy into things that don't matter. Every time you resist the temptation to perform for approval, you strengthen your presence. And let's be clear, controlled presence is not about being cold. It's not about being distant. It's not about shutting people out. It's about being intentional with what you give. A warm smile from someone who doesn't hand it out freely means more. A word of encouragement from someone who speaks with weight means more. Your kindness becomes more powerful when it's not scattered everywhere without thought. Controlled presence doesn't remove connection. It deepens it, because it makes every connection more real. The irony is that the more you try to be noticed, the less presence you have. Because presence isn't about chasing attention. It's about being so grounded in yourself that attention naturally comes to you. When people feel your energy is valuable, when they feel your words are deliberate, when they feel your attention is scarce, they lean in. They want more. They respect you. Controlled presence makes your energy magnetic without you having to perform for it. Here's the truth. People will always test you. They'll push your boundaries. They'll see how far they can go. If you're too friendly, too open, too eager, they'll take everything you give and still want more. But when you have controlled presence, when you show that your energy isn't free, people hesitate before crossing that line. They know you don't give yourself away carelessly. They know that when you engage, it's intentional, and that makes your presence powerful. Controlled presence is built in small moments. It's built in the decision not to over-explain. It's built in the decision to say less, but mean more. It's built in the choice to hold your ground when others try to push you. It's built in every time you resist the urge to be overly friendly just to be liked. Over time, those choices accumulate, and people begin to see you differently. They begin to respect you differently. So stop scattering your energy. Stop performing for approval. Stop thinking that friendliness alone is enough to be taken seriously. Start being intentional. Start being deliberate. Start building controlled presence. Because when you walk into a room with control, with restraint, with confidence, you won't need to beg for attention. It will find you. You won't need to force respect. It will come naturally. Controlled presence is the quiet force that makes people remember you long after you've left. At the end of the day, you have to decide what kind of life you want to live. You can live a life of being liked, easy, agreeable, forgettable, or you can live a life of being respected, solid, unshakable, unforgettable. The choice is yours. Stop mistaking friendliness for influence. Stop confusing people-pleasing with kindness. Stop running yourself into the ground because you're afraid someone won't approve of you. You are not here to be everybody's friend. You are not here to be easy. You are not here to be a doormat. You are here to live with strength, with boundaries, with presence, with power. Respect will never come from how much you smile. It will never come from how many times you say yes. It will never come from how many people like you. Respect comes from how you carry yourself, from how you draw your lines, from how you stand tall when it would be easier to shrink. So don't be too friendly. Be intentional. Be grounded. Be someone whose presence commands attention, whose standards set the tone, whose boundaries protect their worth. Because when the world looks at you, they don't need another nice person who disappears into the background. They need someone who stands out, who speaks truth, who lives unapologetically, and who refuses to be owned by the approval of others. The ones who are remembered are not the ones who are liked by everyone. They're the ones who carried themselves with strength, who lived with authenticity, and who earned respect. And that is the life you deserve to live.